Hashtag GizzyCredit. Hashtag GizzyCredit.
GizzyCredit. Anything you want, then you can get it. Don't get scammed, cause then you'll regret it.
Hollywood
No
legend.
longer gotta look pathetic. GizzyCredit. Anything you want, then you can get it. Don't get scammed, cause then you'll regret it. You no longer gotta look pathetic.
Mi gente, what's good with you? Your boy GizzyCredit. Aquí sporting my new Back to the Future Hawaiian shirt that I wanted to get. It's pretty cool, right? You see Back to the Future? It's ridiculous. But it's like me, ridiculous. Anyway, shout out to all of you guys out there. Thank you so much. We are now having podcasts every other Monday so that you guys can be aware. I'm going to be posting a lot of whatchamacallit, of posts letting you guys know when we're going to go live. And I have more videos, as you could see. Let me see what video that I posted. I posted a testimonial yesterday of a customer we came through for who was a cop. He retired. And we were able to get him a house. He moved out to Florida. And then he was able to refinance too. And now, as you can see right over here, 772 credit score. That's what's up. That's what I'm talking about. Anyways, let's leave that to the other side. How you can contact me. I go by GizzyCredit. Been doing credit repair for a very long time. Over 10 years, as a matter of fact. Anyways, people contact me through my social media. Where are my social medias at? Right up here. Boom. All my social media. We help people understand credit, what to get, how to get it, how they could better themselves with their finances. You know, we're the go-to people. Yes, this guy with the Back to the Future Hawaiian shirt. Anyway, shout out to you guys. How you can contact me? You email me. You could DM me on Facebook right now. We're live. We're live on YouTube. And you could DM me or just write your email address. I'll send you my how to start credit repair info, or just right over here. Just go there and email me. All right. So I'm going to bring John in right now. John, who is in Florida. And of course, I'm going to let you guys put your questions right here so we could get to them ASAP. All right. Let me get John on the phone real quick. How's everybody doing? What's good? Where y'all calling from right now? Let me know. Let me know. Jesus, let me know. It was a John already 4 times today. We had a couple of intake calls with him. Let's do this real quick. Shout out to my customer, Anibal. All right, Anibal came through and he gave through my Cash App $50. So I'm drinking coffee because that's what it's for. It's for coffee. What's going on, John?
What's going on?
Good. Everybody here, John, nice and clear? Let me know. John, say what's up.
What's up?
I can hear you. All righty. All right, mi gente. So, as you know, John has been educating all of us on how credit works, what to watch out for. Also, educating us on what's going on with the Rona at the moment. At the moment right now, John is in Florida. John is staying safe. He did have a cold, but he beat it. And yes, people are still getting other things like colds, fevers, not the Rona, okay? But John is in Florida, and basically we're going to be doing these podcasts every other Monday because, you know, we both have families, and now John has older children, so they're going to school, and he takes care of them too. So, John, how's everything in Florida?
It's good. I mean, other than the fact that the whole argument with schools is front and center right now, sending kids back to school and stuff, So, it's an issue that I think will probably be here front and center.
Are you sending your kids back to school?
No. my son's school gives both options. You can do the distance learning, or you can go in. And I was like, no, I'm not experimenting on my children. If I can control it. So he's gonna be doing what he did, during the actual onset of it, where he's learning from home through the way his school is set up. Is they have this system called the OWL system, where it's literally like he's sitting in the classroom with them. So he just doesn't have to be there. It's not like Zoom. It's a little more interactive than that, which is cool. But my daughter goes to preschool, so I'm definitely not sending her into there, because that's like a germ pit of germ kids. I mean, try and get a 4-year-old to wear a mask is like, it's like performing surgery with no tools, right? I mean, it's impossible. So I wouldn't even bother. But I mean, here the funny thing is that we're in Palm Beach County, right? And right above us is Martin County. And Martin County, it's opened up a bunch of schools like last week, and a number of them are already closing. Like first couple days, they already had coronavirus cases. They've been quarantining half the schools. I'm like, why?
What?
And it's funny because you see that, no matter what the news stories break and what you believe or whatever. I mean, some of these things are definitive. They're not open to interpretation. And when you hear that schools are shutting down because it's just spreading so quickly, and the one school in Martin County was open 2 days. 2 days. And somebody had already reported a case of coronavirus. So it's like, my goodness, man, why are we even chancing it? Why is there even a risk here? I mean, not a risk. Why is there even an option? I just don't get it. But you know what? For me, it's I would, if I can control it. I mean, I respect people that have to go into a retail job or something and they don't have a choice and stuff like that. But
I went to the mall. I went to the mall on Saturday. Empty, Jay. Malls are empty.
I was down here. They have outdoor malls, right? So there's one in downtown West Palm called City Place, and I was there yesterday eating dinner last night, and this place normally runs on the retail side, like maximum capacity. It's really nice. It's a huge outdoor mall.
Oh, nice.
85% of the storefronts are empty, and these were all like Bath and Body Works, Victoria's Secret, Capital One was there. I mean, they're all gone. It's just empty storefronts. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy, because everybody, like we talked about before, everybody uses the stock market as the pulse of the economy, right? And they think just because the stock market's buoying up right now and maintaining, that somehow, some way, that's a reflection of how we're doing as a broad economy, and it couldn't be any further from the truth. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and I mean, I think we're still in early trading, like I said, when this all started to where we're at right now. So hopefully, my hope is that sending all these kids back in the districts that are doing it, in the areas that are doing it, you hope that whatever kids are exposed to anything that may or may not occur, you just hope that it's not that bad, or they catch it early enough so that it doesn't spread. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That if something is going to happen, it's done on a very minute scale. So that's like going in.
Well, I'm over here getting a phone call from 772 area code. 772. Oh, that's Chicago. That's Florida. Yeah. Somebody just called me from Port.
727 is Florida. 772 is Illinois.
Illinois. Yeah. Well, somebody just called me from Port-au-Prince or something like that in Florida.
Port-au-Prince.
Yeah. Is that even Florida, or is that like
I have no idea. It sounds familiar because I feel like we may have a client that's from there, but I don't know geographically where it's at.
Port St. Lucie, my bad. Port-au-Prince.
Oh, well, that's definitely for sure. But that's 727, I thought. Or no, maybe that is 772.
Yeah, 772. Yeah, 772. I'll get back. You know what? I'm going to send him a text. He's called me twice already. I'm pretty sure it's for credit repair. What do you call that? Little Haiti, right? Over there?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
What, you mean in Port St. Lucie? Like,
yeah.
It's not that far from Palm Beach County. I mean, it's Port St. Lucie isn't that far. I don't know though. I'm not as familiar with over there.
live right now. Hashtag GizzyCredit.
I meant to ask you. You know that the cases up in Jersey are starting to tick up, right? I mean,
You sent me an article about.
that was like 2 weeks ago.
That was 2 weeks
sent you
ago.
The article, and then Murphy's been all over the television talking about how just pleading with people to stop going out and stuff, and I don't know. I don't think it's helping.
It's not. Everybody goes to Wildwood. Everybody goes to Seattle City, Long Branch, Seaside Heights, and
it's it's cramming 1 million people into an area that comfortably fits 250,000, right? So even if you're not out partying and doing stupid stuff, you're still stuck next to somebody.
And the thing about it is that yes, you are 6 feet away from people in a restaurant. Yes, the server wears the mask. But, when I'm eating with my wife and there's people, in the back of us, in the front of us, they're not wearing masks. Everybody's just out doing their thing.
Yeah, and this is why we talked about this a couple months ago, right? When Florida was heating up, we were doing the podcast. I'm like, it's just a matter of time before it hits Jersey again, because that the Jersey Shore it's like you're stuffing people in an area like sardines, right? I mean, there's way more population, it's way overpopulated than what it can handle, even in a normal season, much less now where everybody just wanted to get out of their house so badly. So,
and talk about Jersey politics too, Jay. Jersey politics it's not the best right now.
No, it's not. But I mean, you gotta love all the governors, though, right? They all do their victory lap, and then it comes to kick them in the face, right? I mean, I just don't understand. I don't understand why even do it, right? I mean, people aren't morons. They know when somebody does something right. You don't need to do a victory lap. They know when you're doing the right stuff. You don't need to let people know you're doing something right. And the guy in Florida did it too. He did his victory lap, and then DeSantis, he got hammered by everybody when it came back down here. So there's nothing these guys can really do to control it, right? Let's be honest. I mean, it's a virus. I mean, it's what it is. It's going to run its course, and the severity of it is going to be. It's going to be.
Is that Kimberly? I think that's probably Kimberly who called me. She just went on a Facebook Live. I think. Oh no, Kimberly lives in Ohio now, but I think she kept. Kimberly, did you keep the Florida number? Living in Ohio now?
Who's Kimberly?
Kimberly Binns. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm your friend. I see you on YouTube. Okay. All right, cool. Okay. Yeah. No need to do a victory lap. Good one. Correct. That's what someone just said. And she's in Aloha. She's in. Colleen, are you saying Aloha? Are you in Hawaii, or are you somewhere in New Jersey? She she does real estate. Colleen too.
Well, like I said, I mean, there's still a lot. I mean, there's still a lot of people thinking that this second wave's coming in the fall, right? When people go back inside again, they go back indoors and they don't have the ability.
It's so annoying because that's all you hear in the news. It's annoying. Voting. I mean, it's gonna get even more annoying every day as we get closer to voting. So I don't know how it is over there. Especially people over there that was just showing a whole bunch of people in boats in Florida, 2,500. Did you hear that news?
No, but it doesn't surprise me. Listen, look, the fact of the matter is that there's people that have already made the determination whether they're going to take it serious or not, and it's not going to change their behavior. I mean, we live in an entitled country, probably one of the most entitled countries in the world.
That is very true.
Where nobody wants to be told what to do, how to do it. Even the most docile human being doesn't want to be told what to do. So when you're constantly told what to do, they just do the opposite. So it's like 50-50 down here. You see people that actually care and are, look. But at the same time, as a human being, you gotta exercise your own caution, right? I mean, they're giving you the tools on what you need to do not to get sick. If you choose not to listen to it, then obviously you're subjecting yourself to whatever the scenario may bring. So it's to each his own, and that's kind of how it's being run down here. I don't know about up north. I know when I was up in Philly, it was like it was like a freezer. Everybody was walking around like robots. You know, I mean, it just catatonically fearful. So I mean, I'd much rather be in this kind of an environment. I got to be honest with you, where you know you can decide where you want to be. You can decide to exercise caution.
Well, you got the nice weather too, Jay. I mean, it gets really hot, but still.
Oh yeah, the weather is hot here, but I mean, you get out early, come out late. It's all right.
And Colleen is also in Hawaii, where we are locked down again. So you got Hawaii that's locked down again.
You don't even talk about that, right? Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
That's part of our country. Why don't we talk about it?
Can you put the phone more towards your lips, Jay?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah, I'm saying why don't we hear about that? You know what I mean? Like, why isn't that on mainstream media? The media is so fragmented now. It's crazy. It's just so like disconnected. Like, you watch one channel, you get a whole bag of shit that you get to chew on, and it's like left field, right? You watch another channel, you get right field. You watch before it used to be like at least constants. You understand what I mean? Like of news that made like all the news networks, and then they worked into whatever little specialty they wanted to profile from that. But now it's just so fragmented. It's crazy. Like, why wouldn't we know that Hawaii's locked down again? I still have yet to see any news on the Portland stuff, and that's going on every day. I heard
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
I hear that news. I watch YouTube news. I mean, I get my news through.
I don't watch YouTube news, so I'm learning through other people. I heard Chicago's having crazy riots.
Oh, it's stupid, Jay. It's stupid. Portland, Oregon.
But here's the thing, though. It's nowhere on mainstream media. Nowhere. Like, you watch the news, you watch, you know, in the morning, you watch any of the main guys. They don't talk about it.
No.
It's like it's not even happening. How does that happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, how is it? Are you trying to not inform people? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's why there's.
We all know the media has a way of doing their own scenario, but normally they're not in conjunction, right? Normally one has one interest that they're protecting. Another one is working with another wing, whether it be far left, far right, you know, slight left, slight right, even center, etc. It's not ever normally where everybody is in unison that they're not going to profile the craziness that's going on, and how riots just haven't stopped, and how cities are just getting burned to the ground, you know? Like, big, beautiful cities that took 15, 20 years to get back to the point where they are. And, you know, we made a whole podcast about this, you know, about Philly.
Yes.
What the expectation was and the fallout was. But I talked to somebody 2 weeks ago in Philly that was down there, and they're like, yeah, man, there's people sleeping in tents at the art museum, a whole village of them. I mean, there's the board up still everywhere, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's sad, man. It's sad when you think about a lot of these cities. It took them a long time to get back to the point where they were at. And
John, you don't know, man. New York City. So many people have left New York City. 13,000 apartments available right now. It's no one wants to move in. Where is the economy in New York City?
Well, it's not just that. It's the taxes in New York are so high already, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to live in New York, you're going to pay high taxes, and you're going to get kicked in the ass. It just doesn't make any sense, right? So, I mean, it's like, why stay there at that point? Why not just, if you can work remotely, move somewhere else where the taxation is more accommodating, along with who knows where that's headed, you know? I mean, everything's cyclical when it comes to economic stuff and just you know, in general. So
correct.
That may have been, you know, the peak going into the beginning of this year for cities, and this may be the valley, you know, and it can prevent some good opportunities, buying opportunities, because cities will rally. Cities will rally again over the course of time, right?
Well, I don't know if you heard, but De Blasio, he's the one that's saying, I don't care if people leave, because we're gonna purchase. The city is gonna buy these apartment complexes and turn them into public housing.
Yeah, that's great for the economy. So, I mean, so the fact of the matter, though, is de Blasio's the same guy that said, you know, just let them burn out when they were rioting. Remember that?
Correct.
He said to the cops, don't leave them alone, let them just burn out. Meanwhile, they destroyed Soho, right? Completely destroyed it, which was like one of the crown jewels in New York at the time. They destroyed some of the nicest neighborhoods. Finally, this guy had to change his approach and be like, okay, we got to step in now, and these guys aren't going to burn out, right? And unfortunately, this is where we stand. So I'm not sure, you know, and to publicly say, yeah, listen, we're gonna snatch up all these apartments in nice areas, and we're gonna make it public housing, which subsidizes the real estate values and subsequently hurts the neighboring people, I can't imagine that city councils and stuff in those areas are going to allow it, right? Because it's going to immediately, in a negative way, immediately impact the real estate even more so than it already is, right? When you start getting to subsidized housing, Section 8 housing, whatever the case may be, you're really leveling off the values at that point and probably projecting on a downturn from that point forward because, you're bringing in a whole different scenario, right?
But Jay, I know people who say Section 8 never late. Who say, I'm going to purchase...
No. As an investor, yeah, for sure. But the problem is, the kicker with Section 8 is this, right? And this is, you learn this day one stuff, right?
Mhm.
Section 8 is great on yield. There's no equity play, though. Because most Section 8 houses are in low-income areas, and they're in areas that aren't gentrifying, right? That's why they are Section 8. That's why the city will go in there and do that, or the state, or whoever's sponsoring that Section 8 program. So in essence, let's say it's a $40,000 house, and you're getting $800 in rent, which isn't that unheard of. At least I know in Philly it wasn't. So they're guaranteeing 75%, of that rent that you get in your account every month. The tenant has to come up with the difference, right?
Correct, yes.
When you figure 800, the tenant's coming up with, if they're giving you 75% of 800, they're giving you about $600. The tenant's coming with 200. And if you do get the full 800 every month, over the course of a year, that's like a $10,000 return, right? Or
Yes.
$10,000 in rent you're going to get on a $40,000 house. That's an insane return, right? And
Yes.
that happens. That really happens. The problem is there's no equity play because you're not going to have development come into that neighborhood, right? You're not going to have large amounts of development money, commercial strip
Even in
centers, all that stuff.
Philly, where you invested at, that got gentrified.
Yeah, because that wasn't the scenario though, right? I mean, that wasn't when you go on notice and you're like, yeah, we're bringing in public housing, and you let them know you're bringing in subsidized housing. You're effectively saying we're cutting off the spigot for any real estate equity that exists in this area, right? I mean, you're effectively stopping that because you're basically saying we're bringing in a different scenario to this neighborhood and we're going to change it. It's the exact opposite of a developer coming in and say, look, we're building 1,500 homes. We're bringing this commercial development. It is the polar opposite of that. If you want to look at
So,
two
Jay.
ends of the spectrum from the real estate perspective,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to get to the subject real quick, but we just want to get into real estate. I know a lot of you are real estate investors, and a lot of you want to get your credit right so you can invest in real estate. So this is a conversation, that is good for you to listen to. So, Jay, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. There used to be projects, 7th Ave projects, and then there used to be Grafton Ave projects, and then Baxter Terrace projects and all that stuff. They took down, let's say, Grafton Ave projects, but there was a builder who came in who also built, instead of high rises, they built like one level homes, but there was still.
just hold on. Let me explain the difference for you, right?
Okay.
That's the difference between if you come into an area that isn't built up yet and an area that may be struggling for any number of reasons, right? Demographically, may be struggling, economically, may be struggling, for any number of reasons, and that happens to be the area where the Section 8 exists, and on the fringe of those areas, you're starting to get employers come in, and then you got some developers coming. That's a different story. If you're sitting at the high point of your area where you've gentrified, you've turned it, right?
Okay.
And the values are up. Look at Philly, look at New York right now. The Bronx places go for $1 million.
Oh yes.
Right? I mean, and then you turn around and you say, look, you know what, guy? I know you just spilled your heart, guts, and soul into that 3-family in the Bronx. It's worth $1.5. You bought it for $200,000. But down the street, we're gonna put all this new section, this planned housing, and it's all gonna be government subsidized. You're putting yourself in a very, very, very precarious position because now you're trying to reverse engineer the gentrification, right? Because you're going backwards at that point. Bringing in planned unit, like any kind of government-related housing or stuff like that into an area that's done, if you're the person that lives there, think about that. If you're the guy that bought $1 million house, right, and that new government subsidized for whatever reason, maybe it's a halfway house, maybe it's any one of those things, right? It's
Correct.
bringing a new element into that neighborhood. That's an element that when you spent 1.5 or 1.4 even in the Bronx for that house, you weren't thinking was coming in, right? You thought the Bronx was riding. You thought it was still riding and it was going to get better and better and better. Now you're bringing an element in that you thought you'd already moved beyond. You understand what I mean when I say element, I mean, like I said, like if it happens to be a halfway house,
Halfway
or
house,
any
yeah.
kind of,
Newark has a bunch of halfway houses. They have them in North Newark and in South Newark, in
and
downtown.
look, there's nothing wrong with halfway houses.
Correct.
I'm saying though, if you're looking at it from the perspective of you plop that right smack dab in the middle of a neighborhood that's developed, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
It's gonna concern the people in the neighborhood, right? It doesn't
Yes.
matter if it's New York, if it's Philadelphia, it's wherever. It's just a natural response. So the point I'm trying to make, without going into a elongated scenario, is when you start plopping. Number one, I don't know why you would say that. I don't understand why any public official would double down on that. I mean, it's not like he has any control over it anyway, and it's not like he is somebody that the economy is like.
Well, he gets $9,000. He's whatchamacallit? He's a landlord. He gets $9,000 from his investments that he has.
But are you talking about?
I'm talking about De Blasio. I'm talking about personal De Blasio. Yes.
But you're talking about when you said he's going to buy on behalf of the city. That's a different conversation.
Oh yes, correct. Yes.
If that's what he said, see, I'm going off what you said. So if he's
Yes.
buying on behalf of the city, that's different than a personal situation. Buying on behalf of the city, you're bringing in, subsidized housing for the purposes, it serves a very good purpose in society, right? It's just you would normally not see it sprout up in the middle of a developed neighborhood that is rising. You just wouldn't do that. So I don't know why he would say stuff like that, but look, we're in crazy times, man. I mean, we're in a year. We talked about this before. That it's just insane. So, and it doesn't seem like it's getting any more normal. We've just normalized it as people, right?
Well, we still not in Thanksgiving, where you said we're probably gonna see, what happened in the last 6 months in Thanksgiving.
What do you mean?
Remember, we started talking about this back in March, and then you said, when do we see it happening? And you said by Thanksgiving, we should see what happened in the last 6 months, in which we'll be able to tell if the recovery is going to happen or not.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, I said towards the end of this year, I said you'll start to see, because it doesn't appear as though this next bill is really going to get passed, because I just don't think it's going to happen. So the fact that the economy is just booming right now, it was good, because, we need to start running without training wheels. And that's what's been propping it up for the last couple of months, right?
Yes.
The housing, stuff like that, it's just getting propped up. And the reality of the situation is, once that propping stops, which I figured would happen towards the end of this year, going into looking for purchases at the beginning of next year, right? That's when you start to see things. Now, look, even if a vaccine, I think everybody at this point has exhausted the vaccine conversation. But I think anybody that does any research on it understands the fact that any one of these vaccines, I mean, they've already come out and said that it's not going to be addressable for 100% of the people in the world, much less the country, right? It may cover 60-70% of the people if it's a good vaccine. The other 30 or 40% of the people aren't going to be able to take it for any number of reasons: allergic reactions, their body may reject it, all these different scenarios. And the pharmaceutical companies have come out and said that. So this isn't like some kind of end all. You understand what I mean? Like, even when that happens. So everybody's been hanging on that as a means of, okay, well, when that comes, everybody's going to turn around and just jump back into it. It's not going to happen. And, there's been a lot of stuff lately going back to I've been saying this since February, March, whenever this happened, but, the unemployment thing is a huge thing. I mean, I say it all the time, but we're 65% of our economy is run consumer driven, right?
Yes.
I mean, us spending money is what drives that 65% of our economy. And if people aren't making more money and don't have jobs and they're living off of unemployment, and that unemployment is only covering 70% of their best pay period over a 12-week period, then that's not getting them. Now, granted, they still have the moratoriums on evictions and stuff, but how long is that going to last? I mean, there's commercial lenders here who, I mean, like I just said, I was over at City Place yesterday. That's a $250 million outdoor mall.
Wow.
60, 70, 80% of the storefronts are vacant. So and this, there's one or two of these down here. There's one in Palm Beach Gardens, and one in downtown West Palm. I haven't been to one Gardens. I can only imagine it's probably the same. So, I mean, you're talking about...
And that's Florida, where people just be like, I don't care.
Yeah, but but you gotta. You're right, but it doesn't mean they're out spending money, right? Because
Yes.
how can you go out? I mean, I love all the people, and I say this all the time, where it's like, yeah, you gotta rush out and buy a house, man. Go rush out and buy a house. I mean, what are you thinking? Like, what is the rush? What are they gonna run out of house? I haven't been. I mean, it's insane. The people
Overbidding.
Overbidding. They're driving it up. They're driving them up. It's insanity. It's not even and I mean, look, they always say this is just the common element going back 100 years in the economy. When you get to a point of euphoric buying, whether it be in the stock market or in the real estate market, that defies fundamentals, that defies logic, that defies rationale, right? Like in an environment like this where unemployment is still running at 12, 13, 14%. I'm talking not the real economy, the one that we talk about, right?
Yes.
12, 13, 14%. You have people on furlough that haven't even claimed unemployment yet. They're not going to get back to their jobs. When you get into that kind of a situation, and then you turn around and say to yourself, well, how are real estate prices going up so much? Or how are we getting all these clips on real estate sales and such? You say to yourself, it's got to be short-lived because real estate is a full document loan, right?
Yes.
So in order to be able to substantiate that, you have to be able to fully document. Well, if unemployment even stays at 10, 15%, you're talking about a situation where you're extracting 1 to 2 buyers from a 10-person buyer base, right?
Yes.
And going back to January, that was a full 10 on 10. Our unemployment rate in January was like 2%. So you were effectively running at maximum employment in January. Now you're running at maybe, I mean, it depends who you believe, but maybe 80%, right?
Yes.
That means before you had 10 buyers, now you have 8. So just taking those 2 potential buyers out, and then how many of those other 8 that are in the economy, in that buyer pool, how many are spending, right? How many are out overspending? How many are buying frivolous items? I just saw a study the other day that said that used car sales are the most popular sales that are out right now,
Yes.
right? Because nobody wants to overspend. So how does that work? Right? On one hand, you have people that are smart, right? Being frugal, right? And being intelligent about the situation. And they're buying used cars because they can get it down and they can get served. And then you have the other side of the coin where you have these people that are literally overbidding on houses that's unsubstantiated. It's insane, but it just goes to show you the kind of emotional response that's going on right now. And I think when a lot of the dust settles and we start to get into the end of the year, I think, and the thought of getting any more government bailout, prop-ups and stuff like that is off the table, and starts to walk freely on its own, it's going to be very clear, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy because it's really not that hard to, an economy is run, its baseline, its foundation is employment, right?
Yes.
That is its baseline. I mean, if your employment is staggering, then everything else feels the pain of that. I mean, obviously, if Facebook and things like that, it's a different conversation because it's free, right? So, I mean, when you see stuff like that, people will monetize that, and a lot of these online companies figure out ways to extrapolate money from people just from them sitting at home and sitting on a computer. But the standard businesses, which make up a large majority of publicly traded companies and retail operations, they're not. I mean, think about all the retail bankruptcies that have gone on.
A lot.
There's tons. I mean, Brooks Brothers, New York and Company. I mean, the list is it's been adding every single week, just endlessly, right? It just keeps going on. These big names that are trying to restructure because they can't sustain. I mean, it's just where it's such a divergence right now. It's crazy, but we got off on a really long tangent about this. I want to try and talk about the topic.
Well, people missed us. Well, they missed you. They didn't miss me. They see me every day. But it's good to get the knowledge of an avid real estate investor like John. How are you doing all that? Hey, Gizzy, how are you doing all that? Posting your card on the screen. Colleen, the program is called Ecamm Live. Ecamm Live, you're able to do all these things and have your social media, your thing. You're able to put music and all that stuff. Is the bomb. That's why I use it. I got the pro one, which I paid like $260 for it, but it's worth it because you could go on live at any time, and I'm going through Restream right now. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube, but I could go a whole bunch of other places too. My people, I have a 20,000K saved and counting. Look at that, Tyrone Williams. Tyrone is stingy. Well, I'm not gonna say stingy, but he is being smart. Tyrone has 20K saved and counting. Good for you, Tyrone. That's what I'm talking about.
That's exactly what
That's how you do it, T.
Anybody who
Don't get into no car buying either. How is it, Jay? A $30,000 loan keeps you from. I don't know how to explain it. How you say it?
Well, I mean, when it's more situational, but I mean, when the payment on a $30,000 loan over 5 years or 60 months is approximately at a reasonable rate. So let's just say it's 5 or 6%. You're talking about a payment of about close to $580, right? $580 with 3% interest rate represents about I don't know, $200,000 in buying power roughly.
Yep.
So we always tell people to get the house first, and then if you need to get a car, get it after. But I'm telling you right now, man, just because I deal with so many different people and so many different clients from so many different walks and perspectives, etc. People are cutting back on spending. I mean, yeah, there's people that are just idiots, right? That's just a factor part of life, right? You have morons that just go out and keep spending and thinks everything's going to turn around, stuff like that. But for the majority, there's a lot of smart people out there that are saving money, and they're being smart about it because they just don't know. And right, going at this aggressively and believing everything you see on television obviously has not served anybody well at any point in time, probably in their entire lives. So I think a lot of people are learning just to follow their gut, and I think their gut is telling them just to be cautious right now. Stack paper is not a bad thing even in a good economy, but if you're doing it in a down economy, it's even smarter, right? Because you're saving up. If something turns against you, you have it to sit back on.
And not only that, but he's with life. He's looking at life and seeing if something was to happen to me, at least I'm good for 6 months. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, absolutely.
It's
But,
nesting. You got your nest egg.
But listen, it goes back. It goes to me. It just keeps going back to the people that are in a rush to buy houses. I mean, look, I understand. There's always situations where people need to go out and buy, like they got to move,
yes,
because they got relocated for employment, even though that wouldn't apply here, or they had a baby and they need to grow, and that may not apply here. These are both normal situations. I don't know what situation happens now that they need to buy right now, other than just an emotional response to the fact that they were penned up in their house, and in their mind they think we're going to run out of housing in this country, not realizing that, the biggest home builders in this country just built in a down economy, in an up economy, in the middle of the road economy. We're not ever going to run out of housing, okay? So if you want to overspend for a house and waste money, knock yourself out. Just understand that, I mean, the damage can be exponential if you overpay. I mean,
correct.
It can really, really, really follow you around.
We got to have another podcast on real estate because that V curve in real estate is interesting to watch. Because 2008, 2009 happened, and only you will know. Like a real estate investor who's in it will know when things are V'ing down and when things are gonna veer up.
Well, a V-shaped recovery is typically, that's normally showing a full-on rebound. But the fact of the matter is, values had dipped. See, you gotta understand something. In 2008, when it V'd, values, and it wasn't like a stock market beat, right? It started, if you're working from a broad country, like looking at the United States as a whole book of business, Florida and Vegas and Arizona started
yes,
dumping out early. They started dumping in 06. They took off before 06. It wasn't until later on that you started seeing other more traditional markets start to dump. So it was a slow ride down that started at 06, probably 05, late 05, early 06. And it bottomed in 2012. See, this is what I'm explaining to everybody. The real estate market moves like an aircraft carrier. Stock market moves, I say it all the time, moves like a motorcycle. So, I mean, you're talking about it takes a long time. So that V you're referencing, the left arm of it started in 05 to dump, went all the way down, bottomed in 2012 when all the investors came in and soaked up all the inventory. And that's exactly what caught the bottom. Investors came in and they bought the bottom. Wasn't individual homeowners. Nobody was. The lending criteria at that particular point in time, at the bottom, 2009, 2009, nobody could get a mortgage. not in a traditional sense, because they'd cut the debt to income back to 40%, which right now, by the way, trails at about 57%. So think about that. An extra 17% of buying capacity you could do at that time. But more importantly, you're talking about a situation where nobody knew where the bottom was, right? They were stuck in their own upside-down house trying to find a new house, and nobody was even thinking about that because they didn't even know how to get out of their own house because their house was upside down 100 grand, which is why I'm saying to people it's so important to buy at the right number, even in a good market. Buy safely. But the right side of that took from just, if you consider the bottom, the bottom probably bounced around between late 2010 and probably early 2012, and then it ran up. You started to really see life in 14, right, where it really started to make a hard bounce because a lot of the inventory took a long time to soak up. And then it ran up to probably, 16, 17 is when it really took off. And then now it's just been sputtering around in this overinflated mess of froth that we're stuck in now, where, you just keep doing everything you can to just keep, giving the real estate market another hit just to keep it propped up just long enough to go to live another day. The problem is it doesn't work like that. Any adjustment, like think about what happened in February and March, right? In February and March, when the coronavirus first hit, the stock market tanked. Do you remember the podcast we did?
Of course, yeah. In 12 days or something like that, it just went down.
People were saying that FHA doesn't do 640 anymore, 620 loans anymore, and they were talking all this nonsense, right?
Yes.
And I'd explained the reality of the situation is there was just no liquidity to buy the mortgages in the secondary market. So for anybody who doesn't understand, all these banks that originate loans, they don't hold that paper. They don't keep that mortgage on their books. They turn it around and they sell it. They sell it to 85% of the mortgages in this country sold to Fannie, Freddie, or Ginnie Mac, and they're all sold. They're packaged and sold. Well, the liquidity for those loans on subpar credit was not there in March. Some really good lenders that had really good credit and reselling their loans, there was definitely liquidity there, but the majority there wasn't. So that's what happens in situations and what can cause reverberations, right? But even with that, in that short period of time from March to April to May, right, till things started stabilizing, the stock market liquidity started coming back, you didn't really see much of a drop in real estate prices, right? You saw more of a flattening, right? So for anybody to say that this is a V coming off of May is nonsense because you didn't really have enough time. Think about real estate settlements take a month, right, if you're doing it right. In reality, they take probably 45 days. From March to May, you could settle on one property, right? So if you think you can't call it takes time for real estate to unravel. It takes time for it to gain momentum. It's not like a V-shaped bottom you see in the stock market. So I'm just saying that we're so in early sledding right now. I've been saying that since the beginning. It's just we're still barely past the doorstep. I mean, the economy still hasn't shown. Any businesses still haven't shown they're able to sustain themselves from a retail perspective. All that's shown is the Goliaths like Amazon and Facebook and the big boys. They're just getting bigger. They're just getting more emboldened. That's all this has done. That's all this has proved. That we're in a Darwinian survival of the fittest type corporate environment right now on a large scale. I mean, and you're watching it play out, and I just don't see how that works its way back to consumer economy, right? I mean, if you really believe, and most people do, because most people are in Robinhood buying these stocks hands over fist, and they're once inflating the values on them. If you really believe that Amazon is going to continue to grow forever, and all Facebook will do the same, and look, they're very well-run companies and they're very profitable. Where does that leave the typical guy that goes into work, right? Where's his job then?
Yep.
The guy that worked at the retail store that's no longer there. Where's his job going? He can't. What is he going to do? Customer service for Amazon? They outsource their customer service to a third world, to India or the Philippines now. So what are you going to do? You're going to drive one of those trucks for Amazon? Well, you have to pay them to start one of those companies to be able to manage that.
Yes.
That's an investment. It's like $500,000, $1 million investment.
Yep. And you got to be on time and everything.
Listen, if you really want, like I said, I tend to get a little bit too sick about this conversation. I think we're living in an environment that's entirely too optimistic, right? We're living in a psychological environment that is predicated 95% of it on hope. Just
Yeah.
hope. That's it. Just hope. They're hoping the vaccine comes. They're hoping their employer's not going to fire them. They're hoping that the business that they had that's not making money anymore is going to turn around and just start printing money. I mean, that's not an investment approach. It's certainly not an entrepreneurial approach, right? I mean, you have to adjust. You have to pivot with the situation if you know the situation is moving in that direction. They come out with a vaccine tomorrow. You think people are going to hop on planes? I don't. You think you think anybody else is going to Disney World? You think you're going to have football players that are going to come on and want to play football?
Oof.
I mean, just think how much money the lack of baseball, the lack of college sports, the lack of all these things take from the economy.
Oof.
Just think about that. Roger Goodell gets paid $40 million a year.
Jesus.
How much money do you think the NFL contributes to the broader economy? The NBA is playing in a 3 square mile bubble right now just to get it on television. How much money do you think they're not getting to the overall economy, right? I mean, it's these types of things that people see, these remnants of a skeleton of a somewhat functioning economy, but it's not, though. It's not. It's a giant mirage. It's not. Baseball's a joke, man. The first week, the Phillies played the Marlins, and they had to quarantine for 2 weeks and reset everybody else's schedules. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And they had to be the Marlins.
Of course, it's the Marlins, right? Of course, it's the Marlins. And then, you know what they said? The story was that they were out partying at a bar in Georgia. So, of course, Georgia comes into the story, too. Because if it's anything, it's always Florida and Georgia, right? So, Georgia got pulled into it, too. And the next thing you know, all these teams are experiencing it. So, how can you even run a functional season when you're shutting down constantly? It's not even fun to watch. They make fake noise in the games, and they got paper people in the back. It looks so stupid. I mean, it's absurd.
It's a dystopia, 1984 dystopia. There you go.
Yeah, but I mean, just think about it. Like, look at every corner of our society right now, right? Just every normal function. Just sit back for a day and just sit back and be like, think about this.
They're calling you woke AF, Jay.
Yeah, but it's true. But it's true though. It's true.
The Marlins got a break. Listen, my people, it's already been 47 minutes, and we usually start off just, get warmed up or whatever. This is right here. This is the real topic today, right over here. Okay? And anything else we want to say about real estate, Jay, about the Rona?
I mean, look, I could talk about this for hours, man. I could go on long tangents about this because I just don't think that nobody, like I said before, our society is running on a very heavy stream of hope.
But this is not whatchamacallit, doom and gloom, my people.
No, it's not. But listen, it's not doom and gloom. And look, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But what a lot of people don't factor in, a lot of people look at the broader economy and think it's a giant question mark, right?
Yes.
They think that it's just like a big question mark, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. No. There's very, very recognizable pillars that exist within any economy, whether it's ours or somebody else's, but ours is good because we have so many people, and we're the largest consumers in the world, right? This country is. So there's things that drive it, and there's things that contract it, right? So when you see situations where the money supply is contracting, unemployment is raising, savings are raising, you're seeing all these variables that are showing people aren't spending money, people are losing jobs, unemployment is going up, all these things that literally tell you it's going in the other direction. Yet everybody's like, oh yeah, we're fine, it's coming back, let's go buy another house, right? Let's buy a second house, let's buy a third house. Knock yourself the fuck out. But the fact of the matter is that, like, it's not sustainable. You know, I saw Tesla. The Tesla got up to $1,900 today. Right? The stock was $300 this year. Right?
Wow.
It's at $1,900 on the fact that somebody mentioned they're going to sell batteries. I mean, we are in such an inflated position, in such an inflated environment right now, as it correlates to just functional rationalization, that it's.
John, when are we going to get into the lending business, Jay? I got Curtis Davis who said Rocket Mortgage, and he says RKT new stock.
Yeah, no, I know. I saw it went public like 2 weeks ago. And look, the things they're talking about are great. But, I mean, it's for the record, though, it's not ever a good sign when you see a company that's been private for
Yes.
30 years that wants to come public.
Yeah.
That's normally not a good sign.
Wow.
Because obviously when you become public, then you have to adhere to all the public regulations. You have to report every quarter. You have to meet expectation. You're obviously taking money and you're diluting ownership of the people that have been around forever. So it's normally triggered not by a positive. The reason why you see all these big companies go public over the course of time is because they have a lot of venture money that forces them to go public. They don't go public because they want to go public. They don't go public because they want the scrutiny and they don't want somebody's foot on their throat every quarter making sure they hit numbers or their stock's going to tank. That is not what they want. They do it because they have to. Now, Rocket Mortgage pumps out mortgages like crazy. But if I'm interpreting the situation, right, and I think Rocket Mortgage is, obviously quick in and everything, is a really good company, and I think they're best in show probably. But look at other mortgage companies or mortgage lenders that have gone public.
Yeah.
And see where those stocks have landed at the end of the day. I mean, it's a feast or famine business. So when you start to see the market turn around, I mean, it's not a pretty thing, and the mortgage lenders know this. So to see them come public now, that could also be a signal of a top. You want to cash out, you want to get your money out of it. There you go. And look, I mean, you're seeing a lot of this stuff everywhere. You see the smart money, vacating the market, right? And you see, for lack of a better term, I'm not going to say dumb money, but you see, some less experience. This is why everybody references Robinhood now, because Robinhood is, if you got a pulse, you can open a Robinhood account. And the fact of the matter is, it's largely run by inexperienced. I don't want to say entirely, but the interpretation is run by inexperienced traders. Well, Robinhood actually stopped. They were tracking the trades, the most popular trades of Robinhood for a while, and they were tracking the volume on it, so that hedge funds and stuff would be able to track where that money was buying in an effort to avoid, right? And into an effort at the same time, in an effort to understand exactly where that money's being deployed, because it's a large amount of capital that's getting deployed as it comes from Robinhood. So I'm just saying, I look, Curtis, I think to answer his question, I think that's a great company. I'm a little cautious because of the fact that you wait 30 years and then you come public. It smells at this time in the market. It just smells really, really funny to me. And look, for that reason, I'm personally going to stand clear of it. I mean, I watched the whole. I watched them at the exchange when they went public, and I heard Dan Gilbert's whole spiel on everything, and his interpretation of why he wanted to do it, and so on and so forth. But it's difficult for me to buy it. So I have a feeling it's more of a top than it is anything.
Okay. All right. Well, my people, let's get into the topic today. Yeah. And of course, all this is real news. This is not fake news. And today we're going to talk about, we get this all the time, almost every day. Oh, by the way, Colleen, this right here means that you're hard with money. In Spanish, they call it maceta. When you go like this, you say maceta. Maceta is like a potato bag. A bag that holds something. So that means you're being hard with your money and you're saving money. Okay? That's what it means. It means that you're cheap too. Anyways, we get this all the time. People who are not able to see their credit reports online, either through Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion, in which when we tell them, send me your info. Oh, why I can't see my credit report? It may be because you have a bunch of things going on in your credit file that you're not able to access it online. So we're going to get into that right now. Like John says, it's an easy fix. And after we finish this, I'll get back to all of your questions. I know Marcus Franco, Curtis has something else that he wants to say. But let's get into the topic right now, Jay. Why people can't see their credit reports?
Right. So we get this. I personally get this at least 3 times a day. So I'm like, we should make something, and then people can revert back to it this way. It can give them a bit. Now they get to listen to an hour of my ranting about the economy first before they get to the meat of it. But you know what? Maybe it'll help.
No, I'll post it on the comment box of where we start talking about it, which is in 54 minutes, so that when you go back to it, when you go back to the YouTube video, you know that it starts at 54 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I don't think it'll be the worst thing in the world for them to listen to the first 54 minutes. So,
Correct.
but anyway, what ends up happening is, and people probably listeners have the same problem. If they go to update Experian or something, and Experian won't let them update all three bureaus, whether they set the account up or if they're trying to set up Identity IQ, one bureau doesn't show up when they update the report, or if for some reason Credit Karma doesn't update the report as regularly as it should, or it stops updating. See, what people don't realize is they just log into the app on their phone with Credit Karma, and they think that it's always updating, right? Because they get alerts or whatever. The problem is you have to actually go in and see the date of the score to see if the report's even updating. It constantly doesn't update. And the reason it doesn't update, and the reason that sometimes you have problems with Experian.com and updating all three bureaus, I've had clients who have called, and for 3 hours they sat on the phone with the people from Experian.com, which is obviously like somebody in the Philippines that has absolutely no idea about any of our credit or anything associated with it, which is the best person to hire for credit customer service, right? Because it's just like ignorance is bliss. You call them and ask them a question, and with a smile, they have no answer for you. And they'll keep you on the phone for 3 hours with no answer for you. So people naturally think that's the solution, but the problem is it's not. So when they call there, then they get even further away from where they started. But here's the reality. So when you set up with it, whether it's Credit Karma, Experian, Credit Check Total, which are the same company, Equifax.com, etc., any platform that you use, which is liaison to the report itself, right?
Yes.
You have to input, when you set the account up, you have to input your name, you have to input your address, you have to input your date of birth. Now, however you list your name, if you put your middle initial and your suffix, etc., that's up to you. However you list that is now how they're reading you as human being, address, phone number, etc., right? So when you go to click submit for that report, if that information doesn't match what that particular bureau has on file for you, or information that that particular bureau has on file for you, whether it be Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion,
Correct.
they're not going to be able to pull that report. So if your name is Joe Smith, right? Let's say your name is Joseph Timothy Smith Jr., and that's how you list your name, right? When you sign up for one of these sites, and you put your address and and you just moved to that address, so it hasn't reported in the credit report.
Okay.
And you go to pull it, and they say you have no credit report on file. Well, the reality is his name is listed on the report probably just as Joe Smith, and you can reference this by getting a copy from the bureaus directly in order to eliminate the confusion. But his name is probably listed as Joe Smith. The old address is probably listed on there, and that's why you're not pulling it. But people don't realize that it's just that simple. I've gotten into arguments with mortgage brokers and stuff because they think everything's tied to your social security number. It's not. That's not how this process works. It's not all just social-based. It's social-based, and the personal information needs to match as well. If the personal information doesn't match, you're not going to pull the report. So, for instance, when you go anybody, a lot of the people that come to us now have either been through credit repair before and, were the last ones to work on it and get it done.
Yep.
Or they've been to some kind of a credit repair company before, right? And in doing so, there's been deviations added to their names or removed or whatever the case may be, addresses, etc. So they can't understand. So we make a quick adjustment, make the correction. It's just that simple. So if you're somebody that's had trouble in the past or continues to have trouble with updating all three bureaus on one of the sites, you need to make sure that that information matches, meaning the information that you input to the platform when you sign up. So, for instance, again, I don't want to be confusing about this. It's very important to be clear. When you set up with an account with Experian.com, they ask your name, your date of birth, your social, your address that you live at, etc. You submit that. That is now the name that's on the profile for that account. So when you submit, it has to read like that. If you put a deviation from that, they're not going to pull all three bureaus unless all three bureaus read your name as written as how you put it in the profile, and your address is the same as how it reads in the profile. You can find what your primary name and address are by getting a copy of your report. If you don't know it off the top of your head, you can call each one of the bureaus and say, send me my free copy. They'll mail it to you. This way you can identify how your name reads, because a lot of people just on top of their stuff, so they don't know how their name reads. A lot of people have unique names, right?
Yep.
And in doing so, they just don't know how it reads. That would be the way that you would do it, and when you would order them, they send them to you typically within 10 days. They'll send them to you by mail after they confirm you, and then you can go in and set up the online accounts. Now, if you go through a credit repair process and the individual isn't like us and understands it as in depth, at least you'll understand why, if they're working on it and during the process of working on it, they're removing personal information that may have allowed you to update it before, old addresses, etc., old name variations, etc., that are no longer on there, and it's inhibiting it, you'll be able to know exactly how to get it updated again by going back and just seeing how it's listed on the report as your name and your address, etc., and then just updating it on the profile. That's all you need to do in an effort to get it updated again. It's just a matter of knowing how to do it and not wasting your time sitting on the phone for 3 hours with that particular bureau, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
So the same thing happens for Credit Karma. Everybody thinks, I know I talked about this earlier, but it's just as important to change that with Credit Karma and to always check and make sure your report is updating. I couldn't tell you the amount of times on a regular basis for the people that do decide to use Credit Karma where the information doesn't update and they just look at it from their phone and they're like, well, my score, I saw all these removals, but my score is stuck at 560. Well, is it updating? I don't know. I'm looking at it on my phone. Well, give me the login. You look at it on a laptop and on a larger screen, you get to see the fact that no, the report hasn't been updated.
Mm-hmm.
The report wasn't updated from the first dispute, more than likely because they were using an old address, which more than likely was removed during the dispute process, right? So all they needed to do was update that address on the profile to the primary address because they were using an address from 3 addresses ago that when they originally set the account up. And when they do that, it repopulates into your Credit Karma, and then in a day or two, you'll see the new report reflect and update, and subsequently the score go up, right? It's given the scenario I just gave. But it ends up being a really significant problem for people because they jump to their own conclusions and then they call and they think that they don't have a report because they can't pull it on one of these platforms. Like, no. It's a platform issue, right? All these are platform issues, is coding errors. And obviously, if they don't match, it does enable you the opportunity to update the very simple fix that gets elongated and emotionally drug out, which is unnecessary, which is why we're trying to give you this information in an effort to try and avoid it. That's all.
How about when it shows up on your driver's license? When you go to the DMV and you update your address, doesn't it automatically update to the credit bureaus, especially when they take down your SSN?
No.
Okay. So is fixing your personal?
Hold on. Let me just take that a step further.
Okay.
So everything on your credit report, all those aliases, all those employers, the addresses, etc., they're made up of applications for credit. Okay? So when you applied for credit or actually obtained credit, that's why you're seeing the deviation in your name and why a name's spelled wrong. Because when they transferred and sent the information over to the bureaus, it was read incorrectly. That's why it's always like a number, a letter, or a number on an address. You see these incorrect variations. It's because it's either from you applying for credit and you were denied, that's why the employers are on there, the phone numbers and such, or it's from an open account that's reporting every single month, right?
Yes.
And they're reporting every single month incorrectly, right? Because whatever information that they see there that they've spelled wrong or written wrong or whatever the case may be, that's how it populates itself into the situation, and subsequently that's how it helps to attach to the report, right? That's one of the ways that it helps to attach to the report. But alternatively, when you're applying for credit, even if you don't get approved for it, though, the same information populates into your credit report. So any of those applications for credit get submitted to the bureaus. Any established lines get submitted to the bureau. So just be aware that happens. I've had a lot of people say, "Well, listen, when we're working on the credit, we'll leave the employer. You know, I want them to know where I work. I want them to know I have a job." I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter. That's
Yeah. Why do we get that? Like.
Because I'm sure it's on some board somewhere that I'm sure it originated in some hole, you know, that is just piping out bad information.
Is it because it's gonna mirror something?
Or garden something? I'm just kidding. But no, all that information is just an accumulation. So even when you go to apply again, they're not going to say, "Oh, okay, you know what? He works for Keller Williams, and it's on his report. Okay, we believe you. You must work for Keller Williams." It has nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. If it's a mortgage, they're still going to verify you. If they're going to ask for income verification, they're still going to do that, whether that name's on your report or not. It has absolutely no bearing on anything. And in all fairness, any of that extra personal information attaches to your report exposes you to potential tiebacks down the line, right?
But how about when they also put sole proprietor or business owner?
Well, that's because that's what that individual put on there, though. Some people put that self-employed.
Yes, they put self-employed. How is that looked at when you go and get some financing? or
It's not. It's well. Look, if you're self-employed, it's in life. Fundamentally, it's great, right? I mean, you should be proud of yourself if you're able to, work on your own. The reality is, when you go to a bank, though, if you say that you're self-employed, even if you're applying for a credit card in a lot of cases, they're going to ask for tax returns or something. I'm not talking about like Capital One or something, but if you get to a typical bank, they want to make sure that you're actually making money, right? So a lot of people write their stuff down. They write off when you're self-employed. They write off they show barely any profits, right?
Yes.
So it's very difficult when you list. We typically tell clients, listen, list yourself as employed and put yourself as the president rather than listing yourself as self-employed, right?
Correct.
You list yourself as self-employed, you're going to open yourself up to additional scrutiny that may lend to a potential turnout. You list yourself as employed, and you as the president or you as the CEO, it's not going to trigger that algo to ask for any more information. So you're still telling the truth because you technically are the president, likely, of the company. It's your company, or the CEO. You are employed because it is your employer. You are the employer. So I mean, you're just knowing how to apply properly within the same context, saying the same thing two different ways, if that makes any sense.
Please, people, don't put self-employed in your application.
No, and honestly, when it comes to, you're just putting more stress on the situation.
Because more than likely, right, Jay? More than likely, these banks are going to just be unsecure, and they're just going to be unsecured credit. And they're going to go by stated income.
Yeah, because it's all algorithmically done, right? All approvals nowadays. I mean, for the exception of mortgages, right, which still needs a human element to determine debt-to-income ratios and stuff, but the general approval itself is typically done algorithmically. Most approvals, almost for everything, are done algorithmically. It's not like the 60s when a human being, you walk into a bank and a human being looked at your stuff and was like, yeah, I'll give you the loan. You know what I mean? Now what happens is you pump it through their algo, and then all that human being does back there, is basically repeating to you what the computer spit out, right?
Yes.
And they're normally doing a pretty shitty job of it, right? Of explaining it to you. So it really breaks down to the fact that you really just got to know how these algorithms handle certain types of information in an effort to not make your life more difficult.
But Jay, okay. Is fixing your personal info, right, on your credit report to show up one address, one name, one SSN, does it do anything to your credit scores?
No.
No. Okay.
No, it has no. Just making adjustments to your personal information has no bearing on. It's not going to jump your score if you remove addresses. It's going to prevent you. I was just giving a scenario before I got off on a tangent. So let's just say that, for argument's sake, you had a collection with Capital One. Okay, Capital One charged off the debt. They resold it. 6 years later, within the reporting capacity, but not the statute to collect, some collection company gets their hands on it, and you still have the same. And this particular account is attached to your report through your address through an employer, right? It's just how it's happening. It's how it's gluing to the report. So if that information is still on there, this collection company 6 years down the line can try and tag you 6 years because they bought it, and the way they tag you is by attaching to your credit report. If all that stuff's on there, you eliminate the possibility of that reattaching to your credit report, which is why it's imperative to only have the most up-to-date information on the report. It's a liability. It's an insurance policy for you. It's protecting you from things coming back down the line because that game goes on. Just because our clients don't see it, it's because when they're done with us, we position them for the reasons I'm explaining now. But there's a lot of people that see that stuff 6 years down the line. That's about to age off, and their collection gets resold.
Yes.
They haven't heard about it for 5.5 years, and now they did it because And these people play all kinds of games, and this is the way you can play a game back, right? It's one element of what's important to protect yourself that way, but it's also essential not to have the wrong information on there too. I mean, if you don't live at XYZ address, why on earth would you want that on your credit report?
Yeah.
If you don't work, if you don't work here, if your name doesn't read as such, why would you want that on there anyway? It doesn't make any sense. It's absolutely insane to leave stuff on there that's incorrect with something as sensitive as your credit report, right?
Correct.
But no, there's no score adjustments for that.
Okay. Now, we've gotten a lot of people who have done police reports for credit. Well, they call it credit repair. It's not credit repair when you send a police report and report as everything is fraud.
Some people call it curve repair.
Well, it's not. Well, some of those people, though, they're not able to see their credit reports online. Is it because of the address thing again, or is it because of the fraud that they claim.
Well, you're asking two different questions. So what happens is when people do that and they hit a high level fraud dispute that they've submitted, right?
Mm-hmm.
The bureaus will, like, let's say you send in a police report, affidavit, etc. They lock your online disputing portals. So, and that's out of your protection, right? So you can't get into my Equifax, you can't get into Dispute Transunion, you can't get in to the dispute portal on Experian.com, and that's why, because they effectively lock it, right?
Yes.
Because you're putting them on notice. Look, somebody got my information. It's a high level scenario, and they take a high level approach, right? Excuse me. Especially if they agree with and believe what you had suggested. So it's in your protection, right?
Yes.
So that happens a lot. People are unaware and don't realize that that's why it happens, but it makes complete sense, right? I mean, if you're going to them and saying, listen, somebody stole my identity, right? And in doing so, they got all this information and they opened all these accounts. The bureaus are going to do what they need to do to make sure that they don't have an open area for them to get in and re-access your information, right? So they lock them down. So we constantly have people who start with us after because they weren't able to finish on the way you just described, and we got to go in and dispute. We can't get the disputes set up online because they can't get into the system. So what we have to do is we have to submit the first dispute by mail in a lot of cases, not all cases, but a lot of them. That unlocks the system because now they see you're not disputing anymore with the high-level fraud suggestion, and then allows them to go back in. Now, as far as like not being able to pull up a report, just a general, that would be more correlated to what we talked about earlier, right?
Correct.
Maybe information isn't matching relative to what the bureau has on file, and you know, it's a very as blasé as people are about the personal information portion of the credit report, it holds significance. It's like the heartbeat. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And people treat it like it's just like a piece of toilet paper, but the reality is it is one of the main components. And if you just disregard it, you're gonna have problems seeing your reports on a regular basis, and you can continue to have problems and not know why if you don't look at it from that perspective.
Now, sometimes we're able to take people out of that unlocking the credit report so that we could dispute online in 30 days, but sometimes it could take another dispute to get you out of there.
Yeah, but there's two totally different things that you gotta understand. You can lock your Experian, you can lock your Equifax, you can lock your TransUnion on those online portals. That's different than what I'm describing. You can manually lock your report in a blink. If you have an Experian.com account, you can lock your reports and nobody can pull your credit, right?
Yes. I'm sorry. I want people to get the understanding. As far as I'm talking about is getting you out of that fraud department in the credit bureaus.
Right, but what I'm saying, but they're two totally different things. Like, you're talking about logging. I'm talking, getting when you submit one of those high-level fraud alerts, etc., disputes, so on and so forth. That ends up being a situation where they don't let you dispute online. Logging it is something that you can just do as a manual protective measure, right? Two totally different lanes, two totally different responses.
Yes.
And initiated by two totally different people, right? You're initiating that lock you do online. When you set up Experian, you're like, you know what, I'm not pulling my credit. I don't want anybody to mess with my credit. I'm going to lock it, right? So they can't do anything. Excuse me. And when you can't get in after a high-level fraud dispute to the online dispute portals for any one of the three, that's the bureaus locking you out. Because they don't think it's you trying to get in. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's them saying, listen, you just told us you were exposed to a tremendous amount of liability from another human being having your information. As a result of that, we're not going to let you in here until we find out that the coast is clear. And that's effectively what happens. Or until you back off of the suggestion that it's identity theft, right?
Yes.
And in those situations, then they typically will allow you to get back in if you have to submit a dispute to offset it.
Okay. Curtis Davis says 30 years of private rocket mortgage. Oh. What he says. Why are people lazy about updating address information?
Psychologically, I have absolutely no idea because I think they think it's an irrelevant part of the report. Just with all the people that I've talked to and helped over the course of the last 10 years. I mean, some of the perspectives.
A lot of don't know, Jay. A lot of people don't know.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
A lot of the perspectives are based on things they've heard as opposed to them just applying their own intelligence to it, right? So even though they can't make sense out of what they're saying, somebody told them it, so it naturally must be true. And they saw it on YouTube, so it's got to be true, right? So I think if people just took an opportunity to step back and figure out who the right channels of information are, I think it would make their lives a lot easier. But to answer his question, I just think people think that it's a menial part of the report, and they don't think it holds any weight. They naturally think, like all the mortgage brokers over the years I've had to prove wrong, that your social security number and your date of birth is the only thing that matters. The name doesn't matter, the address doesn't matter. I got news for you. There's a reason that every application for credit and every bureau has, if you moved in the last year or two, right, to give that address, that different address, just to ensure. If that address is meaningless, why would they do that, right?
Well, here's my question. This is why I asked when people move and they change their address. You telling me that the bureaus don't know because they're not gonna know.
Not until you update it. Not until you update it with the bureau, with the creditors.
Oh.
So when you update your address with the creditors, then they'll make the adjustment when they submit it to the bureaus. And then that's when you'll see the new address percolating. Plus, more than likely, you'll apply for new credit and so on and so forth. But yeah, it takes a minute. It doesn't happen overnight unless you force feed that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you send over the utility bill, the driver's license, the social card, etc., in order to get that implemented. Otherwise, it'll work its way through. It'll just work its way through as you notify your creditors.
Is that a 30-day process or is that a 72-hour process?
Which part?
When you send them your new info.
It could. I mean, it depends on the bureau, and it depends if I mean, I've had situations where we've had to mail stuff into Equifax, fax over, and the quickest means of transmission of information is through fax.
Yeah.
So I had a conversation, for a client where we had to get the information updated before we went for the mortgage, and we had to call back 3 straight days. The one day the guy was on the phone, he goes, "Look, you need to tell me exactly what time because, from 7 to 7:25, we got 10,000 faxes." And I'm like 10,000 faxes? I'm like, well, why am I even faxing it to you? If you got 10,000 faxes in the course of 25 minutes, why the F am I even faxing stuff to you? You don't have a better means of communication? So I had to give him the exact time that I sent the fax. Fortunately, I had it, and then he was able to pull it up through breaking it down. But it just goes to show you, when you go that route, of course they get lost.
Correct.
Anybody that's ever tried to fax something to one of these bureaus knows you call back the next day, they tell you to call back the next day, you call back and they're like, "No, we didn't get it." You know what I mean? Like, you got to come correct. So, I mean, yeah, it could be a 72-hour. Look, it could be a 24-hour process. If they receive it and accept it, you confirm it. The next day, they put it in the system. Overnight, the system updates, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, it can be a 24-hour process. The big question mark is when they receive it and if they receive it. And that's where the question mark comes into play, and that's where the problem comes into play. Experian will fight you they fight on everything. So they'll fight you on, and they'll, in an effort to drag it out, they'll ask for another piece of information, so on and so forth. But TransUnion and Equifax, for the most part, are very amenable about making the adjustment.
Okay. They say here, why haven't the bureaus been upfront about updating key information? Experian has been good, but that's the whole thing. That's what we just finished saying. That there's a whole bunch of faxes going in through and everything.
Say that again? I'm sorry.
No, Curtis said, why haven't credit bureaus been upfront about updating key information?
Because that's largely. I mean, that's the nucleus of the system, though, right? I mean, that if you ever call up Experian and try and remove an address, they'll say no, it's attached to an account. That is the heartbeat. Like I'm telling you, I mean, the personal information, they're not going to tell you about that because that's how these accounts come through.
Yeah.
That's why you won't ever hear about it. They percolate through the system with that information attached. That's the glue. Now that's not the only glue. That's just a large part of the glue. So if you're ignoring the most obvious thing and you're somebody that doesn't take personal information into consideration when you're looking at your report, then, like most people, you're looking in the wrong direction, right? But the fact of the matter is that if you've ever tried to call up one of the bureaus and had them remove personal information that's incorrect, Equifax will be like, yeah, no problem. TransUnion, no problem. Experian will be like, no. No, it's attached to this account. We're not going to remove it because if we do that, it could potentially compromise the account.
Yes.
Which it obviously takes more than that to get the account on. But the point I'm trying to make is it's a very integral part of the report. So that by them not telling it is not surprising because you'd be working against the people that pay them, right?
Well, I have Curtis who also asked, should there be a credit Bible to read or pass for average person in high school or college?
Do I think that there should be more time and energy put into credit and debt management and understanding just overall financial literacy? I mean, it's like music to my ears. I mean, I've said this in the beginning. If you think about all the stuff, all the useless, ridiculous, nonsensical information we get in high school, that or at any point in school, let's just start from kindergarten and work our ways up. There's so much ridiculous information that you don't ever use in the course of your life, and there was no reason to even learn it in school. And then you say to yourself, the one topic, credit and debt, every single person has to learn on the run. There's no classes. There is no one-stop shop sponsored by any banks. There's nothing. I mean, it is a concerted effort to make people learn on the run. And look, do the probabilities on people that learn on the run. In a lot of cases, it's not a great percentage, right?
No, but just look at also people who come here and become residents of the United States. They don't know how things work.
Yeah, but they're a small percentage. You don't even need to go with that niche. Just go with the broad base of human beings in this country. They learn from the guy next to them, right?
Yes.
And if that guy tells them something and that guy doesn't know what to put his shoes on in the morning, that's how their financial literacy starts, because you don't learn anything. Look, I was a finance major, right?
Yeah.
I didn't learn anything about credit. Learn anything about debt. There's nothing about that. But yet, every single human being in their house, every single day, they have a credit thought or credit issue or a debt issue that they either have a bill they have to pay or they have a credit card that they have to manage. You know what I mean? It's in every single person's life every single day, regardless of your economic or socioeconomic scenario. So it's shocking to me that there's not a class or hasn't been a class. I mean, it looks more intentional and deliberate than it is anything else, right?
Yes.
So I don't understand why, because it's not like it's going to change the interest rates that people are willing to lend at if you educate them on borrowing versus not borrowing, saving versus spending, etc. Right?
Well, I think we should just have a podcast on just doing the numbers, percentages, interest rates, how they work, what interest rate goes into, because, you see people, Jay, you remember one of the first podcasts we have, people want to pay $1,500 for a $50,000 car. They're going to end up paying $40,000 in just interest, but they're going to be driving around the car that they want.
But they don't make it 2 years. That's why they front load the interest, right?
And that's the thing that they don't understand either, is that they're paying mostly the interest in the first 2 years.
Well, if it's a 5-year loan, first year, 2.5 years, it's almost 90% interest. So if you're in a high interest rate, none of that's going to principal, so you don't ever get out of it. And most people just give up on it and they abandon it, which is why default rates on auto loans are so high. And it just is what it is. But yeah, look, I mean, we've talked about a lot of this on podcasts. We've dedicated a lot of time to that. But to go back to Curtis's question, I think that would be the greatest idea ever. And I've walked it down as a thought to really assist people with stuff like this. But then you realize, and Gizzy, you know this too, because we joke about this all the time.
Yeah.
There are so many pundits out there that pump out the biggest bullshit that you could imagine, and they have hundreds of thousands of millions of followers.
Correct.
And the shit they say is so incorrect.
Oh,
so
well.
no matter how much information you give, that is the truth. And the truth isn't ever sexy, right? It's not.
Well, Jay, the guy is wearing a suit, and he kind of looks like he knows what he's talking about.
Because you wear a suit. It's not, look, I'm not here to hate on anybody. I'm just saying, like, the problem is that people go to the internet and credit boards and these areas, not traditional areas, to get that education, right? So some guy presents himself in a marketing fashion, right? Strictly marketing, not ever based on reality, but strictly marketing.
Correct.
He convinces you that he's an expert on something, which anybody can do with the right level of marketing, right?
Correct.
So you convince yourself that you're an expert on something, and that individual's hooked. And all that guy's doing is pumping out bad information because he probably can't balance a checkbook himself, right?
Correct.
And that becomes, 150,000 people are listening to this guy like he's a financial guru. And unfortunately, that's what you work up against. That's what you end up competing with. That's what ends up being the problem. And it's genius if you're a lender, right? It's genius because you have all these different conflicting opinions, 10% of which are true. The other 90% are nonsense, full-blown nonsense, right? Like, just, you can't even rationalize it, right? But somehow this individual's got 1 million followers, and those million people are hooked
Yeah.
on nonsense. And look, this isn't opinion nonsense, right? This isn't me being like, look, this guy's a moron, right? And because I think he's a moron, I'm just going to shit on his work. No, what he's saying is factually wrong, right? There's a right and wrong. There's not a gray area as much as people want to believe that there's this gray area when it comes to banking and when it comes to lending and when it comes to reporting. It's not that gray. The gray area comes into play in how long it takes us to finish a report, right? That's the gray area. But how accounts attached to the report is very black and white. How you can get them off is very black and white. How a credit card works, how a mortgage works, how debts to income work, how an auto loan dealer approves you for a particular loan and the amount, it's very black and white. It is a fixed formula.
Yes.
They're not variable, right? It's not a variable number. How you get approved for a certain mortgage
And the
amount.
sales reps, Jay, I mean, we have honest and very good customers who are auto dealerships, and they're good people. But there are also, these auto dealerships that just, they prey. They prey on you.
Oh, yeah, of course. But we've gone into this before too, right? Where you're dealing in a situation where, in all fairness and in all due respect, there's absolutely no regulatory requirement to work at a dealership. You can be a finance manager and be fresh out of jail. So, I mean, there's no regulatory requirement to be a finance manager at an auto dealer. There's no background check to my knowledge, and I've checked. So, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with being in jail, but you could have just been a day out of jail probably for a financial crime, and you can run a financial unit over at an auto dealer. So, when there's not a regulatory element that exists in any business, you run that risk, right? That's why the mortgage brokers got hammered after 08, 09 when the market collapsed, because they're the ones that took the brunt of it, because they were treating people the way auto dealers treat, people that come in to buy cars. They were doing the same exact thing. They were sizing them up. They were building out these enormous yield spreads. They were charging them an insane amount of points. They were banging them over the head, and when push came to shove and the people couldn't pay, there was enough people that complained and said the same thing that they got hammered. Right? It was true, though. I mean, they were hitting them for 4 or 5 points. They were building in 2 or 3% on the yield spread strictly by how they looked. It was terrible. So the point I'm trying to make, though, is just that it's not functional, right? And it's not right. So, I mean, if you're going to be in the business of lending money, there needs to be a regulatory element to make sure that it's good faith, right?
Correct.
I don't know how the car dealership business skirted past that. I really don't. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. And that won't ever make sense. That question makes less sense to me than why we don't teach financial literacy in our society. That one won't ever make sense to me, but I have a little bit of an understanding why, because of the general motive, right?
We actually had a customer, which the video is coming out next week, that he saved from 11%. I think it was 11%, right, Jay?
Yeah, 11 down to 4.
11% interest rate for a vehicle. He refinanced that vehicle loan to 4%. And we've had other people who had 2 vehicles who were paying 15% on each vehicle. Eventually, during the life of that loan, they were going to spend an additional $13,900.
At least. And in this particular client's case, he had 2 vehicles he wanted to refi, and the only reason he wasn't able to refi the second one was because it wasn't worth the value. See, that's the problem you run into when you're in high-interest loans, like we explained before. First couple of years, none of your a pittance of your payment is going towards the actual principal. If you have a $40,000 car at 11, 12% interest, you're talking over a 5-year loan. You're talking about your payment's probably about $1,000, maybe $100 of that's going towards principal in the first 2 years. So after you've made 2 years of payments at $1,100 a month, that's about $30,000 in payments. You're talking about $2,400 of it's actually going to principal. The rest is interest, right? So you get done 2 years of payments, you want to go refinance the car, and the car's upside down by $15,000, $20,000, right? Because you just drove it the normal amount, but you didn't get any pay down on the principal. It all went to interest. You don't realize how they front load interest till after you get kicked in the nuts, right?
Correct.
And that's every loan, by the way. It doesn't matter if it's a mortgage, it's an auto loan, a personal loan. The banks front load their interest. If you get to the backside of a loan,
student loans too, Jay. But didn't you hear Donald? He just said no more interest rates and no more interest on student loans.
Well, while they're in deferment, right? He means that they're not adding it on top. So
Okay.
they have the deferment right now for the program. And what happens in the deferment is that the student loan companies still add the interest onto the principal when you don't make a payment.
Yes.
So effectively, they still get paid. They're just not. They're getting paid directly. He said he's not allowing that anymore.
But how about people who choose to pay the mortgage? I mean, the student loans. They're not gonna get any interest added to that either, right?
No, they still have to pay. Yeah. they're
No, you
paying
still
what-
have to pay, but you're not paying into interest.
You're making your normal payment. That's like saying somebody that took the mortgage deferral that everybody got the reward. No. It wasn't a ban of interest on student loans. It was to coincide with the existing, furlough of student loan payments that started back in March. So people are required to make. There's like a deferment on student loans right now. You understand that?
Yes.
Right. So this is in conjunction with that program. That doesn't mean that people that are actually paying are unaffected by the virus aren't paying interest. They're just making their payment as usual. Just like the people that didn't need to use the mortgage deferment made their mortgage payments. They didn't get any reward for that.
That's right. Okay, so if I'm paying my student loans right now and there's interest that I'm paying in there, Donald Trump says I'm not going to be paying interest, but I'm still making the same payment as I used to.
No, you're paying interest. You're not understanding. If you're paying your loan, you're bound by that loan.
Okay.
Right? Donald Trump's saying for the people that are using deferment right now as a result of COVID, if you can't afford it, only for those people.
Yes.
Okay, those people that can't afford it. He said, listen, people that are using the COVID-related deferment, we're not going to add the interest on top. So effectively, you're getting a year of no payments, but nothing's happening to the loan, or not a year, but whatever it ends up being.
Correct.
We're no longer going to add the interest portion to the principal, which is what typically happens in deferment. The balance is going to maintain, and we're not going to eat for that interest fee until we decide to take it out of this, whenever that happens to be.
Okay. I got a question from Christina David. Christina David is our customer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. She says, if you have a student loan with an institution and the institution closes before you completed your degree, do you still owe on that loan? ? Can you get the loan wiped out? ?
I know that there's certain dischargeable scenarios, and you'd have, again, it's specific to the school and how much of the years that you earned in the degree and things like that. There's actually particulars, so it would be really specific to the actual school and what happened to the school.
Could it be per semester, Jay? Like if you go through semesters and then you pay for that semester and then you pay for that semester? You get me?
Well, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's really specific. Like, for instance, if you earn 2 years of schooling, those 2 years of schooling are transferable, right? So, of course, you'd have to end up paying for that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're not going to admonish you that schooling is transferable to another university. If you earned it and you maintained it, they'll just transfer the credits over to whatever school you go to next, and you pick up where you left off, right? But there are situations where if a school went out of it, there's all these stipulations. You can actually find it on the Department of Education and Navient's site where it's for dischargeable student loan debts, and they'll detail the different type of organizations and scenarios that are applicable and that they'll allow for you to
like Fat Boy 850 says, if the school was closed due to illegal practices.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of them without a doubt. It's I know fraud, exactly. It's nuanced situations like that where they'll do it. But even in those situations, I'm not sure it even comes off your credit report. I think they just discharge the debt.
Yes.
So the debt there'll just be no balance once they, finally definitively arrive at a conclusion on it.
Okay, and Fat Boy is also asking, do you recommend a down payment on an auto loan?
Absolutely not under any circumstance. If you want to take that money and you want to blow it up, just put it on, light it on fire, put it on a boat, and send it out to sea. Because I mean, an auto loan is a depreciating asset, right? So you're talking about a situation where the minute you drive it off that lot, that money you put down is gone. It's gone effectively. The only time that the dealerships ask you to put money down on a situation is largely so that they can put money in their pocket. because it takes 30 days to transfer the title, and the check doesn't come till the title is transferred. So they don't get, just because they sold you that car on Tuesday the 25th, they don't get paid on that deal Tuesday the 25th. They get paid on that deal the following month on the 25th, 26th, 27th, etc. Whenever it rolls through, titles transferred, and the lending institution has their security in the deal, then they send the check, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, anytime that they ask for money down, that is not in your best interest. And like I said before, it's such a wildly depreciating asset depending on the vehicle you buy, even on the brand new factor and the way people work vehicles down. It would be insane to do that. And again, look, some people are self-destructive and they like doing that stuff. You know,
They love that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people. So, and if you know, I can assure you though that if you put money down, it's gone. I mean, even if it's like obviously, if it's like a collector's edition, like a Porsche or something, a Ferrari, something like that, right, that holds its value. But 99.9% of the other vehicles out there, you know, you put money down on it in the next couple of years, that money's gone. Because it just immediately loses value. And that value that it loses is the money off the top. And that money on the top is the money you put down. So there's a reason that banks finance up to 110% of the value of the vehicle, right?
Yes.
And no more than that. So just keep that in mind. But no, I would definitely not advise that if you can avoid it. And look, lenders aren't expecting you to put money down, right? You call them up. The lenders we put clients through, they get approved for a certain amount, 40, 45, 50 grand, whatever, 30 grand. They take that approval, and there's no money needed down. There's no stipulation there. So you got to put 10, 15, 25%, whatever it is. No stipulation there. That's the amount they approved you for to borrow.
Yes.
I mean, when they're not asking you for that, they're approving you for what you can sustain, or at least they deem financially you can sustain. They're not asking you to put any money down. So the people that typically ask for the people at the dealership because of running games.
Well, right now, you told me you had what you say? What car? A 2-door? What car you have? You said, Jay?
Me?
Yeah.
I got a Maserati.
Okay, the Maserati. So Curtis Davis just says the salesman makes the car purchase an emotional decision, not a well thought out financing decision. So when you know all the customers that we come through, and I know you've gotten loans. How do you know that this thing is getting emotional? Like, how you know that this guy is you know trying to be slick, being all emotional to you?
On the dealership side?
On the dealership side, yeah.
Yeah, see, I mean, you're talking about me, like, as a consumer, or me helping clients? Like, which
you
one?
helping clients in which you see, like, this guy, like, are you serious right now? Like, you're doing an emotional thing to the customer.
Yeah, see, but I program the clients before they even walk in, right? Like, I'm very clear about, we do it on the intake call, we do it throughout communication. I say, let me know when you're getting ready for the car, we'll get you approved before you even go in. So I extract that situation because I've gotten in far too many screaming matches with dealerships, salesmen, rooms of people in relation to this because I can't, I have no tolerance for it, right?
Okay.
It's the most scumbaggery, and this isn't all dealerships, please understand that, there are good ones, but
Correct.
a very strong amount of them play games like this, and to me it's ridiculous, right? Me as a human being, like, this is why I was asking you, man, as a consumer, for me, I literally don't even go into the dealerships. Like, I'll call and be like, listen, here's a car I want to trade in, here's the car that I want, tell me what you're going to give me on the trade-in before I even come in and waste my time, right? They'll tell you. They'll be like, well, look, we got to see the car, but here's what we're looking at. We ran the VIN on the car that you have, and this is what we're willing to give. You can do all that bullshit before you even come in. So you don't have to sit there for 3 hours and play these games, right, that they try to play even when you come in with the money, where they try and sweat you out and do whatever they can and smoke you out. You can do it all in advance. Even with the approval in your hand, you can say, listen, you know, look, I just want to come pick the car up. I had my wife's car shipped here. I didn't even show up in the dealership. I did it all over the phone.
Wow. So,
I mean, if you can really work, if you know how it works, you can really just work it to your advantage if you know how the situation works. And you can get, that's what I'm saying. I said this on the last podcast. I said it on all of them.
John is dealership's worst nightmare.
No, exactly. I'm their worst nightmare. But generally speaking, knowledge is power, right? And you can really leverage that knowledge in all these instances to where you can really kind of, I don't want to say you can control it, but you can put yourself in a position that you're comfortable with, right? Not they're comfortable with, that you're comfortable with.
Yes.
If you know how to cut out, if you follow the money and you know how to control the money in that situation, right? And by you getting your approval and by you knowing how they're going to value your trading without you even going in, then you take out the question marks of having to show up and put up with the BS. And you call around, man. They'll all do the same thing, and they will do that because these salesmen, they're like, they're like slobbering dogs, man. I mean, you throw anything at them and they'll jump for it. So it's very real that they'll go through the same scenario. Like, look, I don't want to waste my time coming in if you're not going to give me what I want. And as far as the trading is concerned, what are you looking at? And they'll say you got to come in at some point because they got to see it, but they'll give you an idea of what they're willing to range you on the vehicle, right? Because they can pull the VIN and see all the specs on it, and you can save your time going in there. And it's just a long, unnecessary process in 2020 that doesn't need to happen. You know, just so overwhelmed with games, and I don't. On a good day, I don't got time for games, much less on a day when I'm trying to save clients money and I'm trying to put them in a better situation. So that's why I pretty much worked, to answer your original question, I pretty much worked out an arrangement where clients don't even need to stick around with them anymore, you know? Okay, you know, if you extract that emotional element from it and treat it like every other situation, you don't play their game. You control the situation at that point.
Okay, so what about Fat Boy says, what if you need to add money to pay off your trade? Like the dealership offered you $4K and the remainder of my loan is $5K.
Right. So what they typically would do is roll that over into the new loan. It's a negative amortization rollover. And that's not uncommon.
Okay.
So effectively what happens is they'll just lower the sales price $1,000, or they'll figure out a way to wash it out. They'll mark down the price, or they'll inflate the price. They know how to work the numbers funny. They do funny money over there to the 10th degree, right, when they submit it to the lender. So normally speaking, you don't come out of pocket. So for instance, if you're trading in a Jeep and they gave you $4,000 on the Jeep trade-in and you owe $5,000, they'll take that $1,000 and tack it on to the new Jeep you're buying for $30,000, and it'll become $31,000, right?
Yes.
And effectively, they'll knock down something else to squeeze in that $1,000 and make the deal get done.
Okay.
That's how they do it.
Okay.
But normally it's not just $1,000. They'll normally just give you the trade in even up in a lot of cases for that. Normally it's a lot more than that. I've seen people roll in $5,000, $10,000, seen $12,000 rolled over in negative AM before on car loans. So it can be done. I mean, without having to come out of pocket.
Okay, what's up, OJ? What up, guys? What are we talking about? Man, we talked about the economy. We talked about the economy with the Rona in the first, I think, 54 minutes. What's happening? Real estate investing. What is it? New York City. Buying. What do you call those houses? Lower income. Lower income, and where was that thing? Section 8 housing. We also talked about right over here. Are you having trouble updating your credit report? That started at the 54-minute mark, and we got into how people can't see their credit reports for some reason, and it's very easy to fix. We went in that, and now we're just talking about just answering people's questions. So if you have a question, just write it down. And we get right to it. And Curtis Davis said, "Room VROOM or VRM new stock IPO. Any thoughts? New sales model? Question mark."
Yeah, and they also had a really bad quarter a week ago. So based upon their inventory and the lack of sales and stuff, so. I watched his whole sales pitch, the CEO. I listened to him after the earnings call and everything like that. I don't like any of the auto stocks. I got to be honest with you. I just because I don't like the business model. I don't like anything about the model. I see people that go and buy GM and some of these companies. I say to myself, man, these are companies that they're like the airlines. They don't ever figure it out. You know, it's because the margins are so tight on new cars, right? And, you know, they're the ones making the cars. Now, obviously, GM's making a car for them as a seller. It's like Carvana, right? They're selling cars, so it's a little bit different business model. I'm not big on anything auto related. Obviously, you know, Tesla, I thought it was a good stock a long time ago. But, you know, now it's in a stratospheric level right now that is unrationable and unfathomable by anybody's standards. So, outside of that, I'll let Vroom figure itself out a little bit and see where it falls. I mean, I know Carvana's been going crazy too as another unique business model. They've been going nuts.
Carvana came at the right time with, like you don't want to see nobody at the dealership. But then again, you're getting what you see. You don't know if the car needs, anything new or something is broken.
No, Carvana has you can give the car back. I mean, I haven't bought from them. I'm pretty sure you can keep the car if there's something wrong. You can give it back in like a week or two.
Oh wow!
But don't quote me on that because I haven't bought from them. I could have sworn I heard that though. So
but that's a crazy model though, especially if you're like an old school mechanic. Like, how are you gonna buy a car that you haven't test driven? Or I mean, that's crazy.
It is, but you know what? People are so sick and tired of the walk in the dealership, and you walk in wearing a shirt, you leave, and not only do you get 15% interest, but somehow they pull your shirt off, right?
Yes.
And you don't even leave with your own shirt on anymore. I mean, that's how bad it is when you leave there, and you feel like you need a shower. I mean, it just sucks, man. It's a shitty experience. Nobody likes it. It soaks up all your day. Most people that don't understand leave there. And they leave happy because they got a new car, and then like 72 hours later, they're like, "Shit, my rate's 18%. My payment's $1,200. What the fuck am I doing?" Right? And then that's when they call us. So that's why I'm like, I've had enough of that to the point where I'm like, I'm not gonna let people make that mistake. At least if they're one of our clients, and we're just gonna get them in the right position in the first place, so that they don't have to turn around through 72 hours later and do the walk of shame, right? So
yes.
I'm just. Everybody knows how I feel in dealerships. So, I mean, again, there are good ones and a lot of good ones are clients of ours. So I don't want to. I know I keep putting this disclaimer out, but I do it because it's important to do. But there are a lot of examples where the stuff that we talk about happens a lot, and it's really predatory and it's really at the expense of consumers, and it's just not right. And who knows, the one way we can help protect clients is by positioning them properly so they don't have to play the game and subject themselves or expose themselves to the bullshit.
Okay. They take it back. Colleen said they take it back up to a week, I think. Carvana. Okay.
Yeah, something like that. I know it's something like that. I read it somewhere. It's definitely something like that. I forget what exactly it is, but it's something like that.
Okay, so they said, can you, let me see. OJ, I hate CarMax. They overprice their cars.
Yeah, and then they underprice the bids on the cars they take in. See, that's a good business model, right? They a lot of people sell their cars to CarMax. CarMax just gives them cash. That's a large part of the business, and they turn around and they lock the cars, right? So
yes.
They underprice the trade-ins and they overprice the resales, right? And majority of their stuff is used cars, right? It's not new stuff. So they're making margin on the largest margin area, because most dealerships that sell new cars, they don't make a lot of money on new cars. They make money on the used cars.
Correct.
Well, CarMax is mostly used cars, right?
Yes.
So they're making significant. That's one car business model that I actually like, and I think it's functional. But I understand where he's coming from, though. If you're a buyer, if you're a consumer.
Tracy Madrid, can I use you on my next purchase? I think Tracy, did you start Credit Repair again? Tracy Madrid?
Yes, she started with us. Yes.
Okay, Tracy.
And listen, Tracy, when we're done, I know we got a lot off in the first round. I think we might even finish one.
Oh, Jay, I'm getting a lot of phone calls recently from people who are customers, and they're itching. They itch. When can I do this? When can I do that? I'm like, yo, chill.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, I mean, that happens 2 weeks into the process. Even after we ask them, tell them what the average is and everything. So, that's every day. That's just part of managing the business. It's part of the emotional aspect of this business. But to answer our question, I think we cleaned one of your bureaus off in the initial round. I think it was Equifax. So if you do need a car, let us know. We can start positioning you that way. But, yeah, we can definitely. I mean,
Tracy, let us know. But if the goal for you is to get a mortgage, don't go on. I know, but everybody want to get a car, and then their credit gets better, and then they want to get a mortgage. So, what people want? You know what I'm saying? What you gotta figure what you want. Either you want to drive in style, or you want to wait a little bit. You want to get your little hoopty, at first, and then fix your credit, and then be able to position yourself to get a mortgage.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're getting a mortgage, don't get a car first.
Correct. I think Tracy. I think she's in the military.
Absolute emergency.
Yeah, I think she. Tracy, if I'm wrong, I know that you go from place to place, but let us know. But you really got to think about what you're gonna do if you're gonna get a hoopty for the meantime, and then and you know what, you could buy yourself a nice Toyota 10 years ago, and you still drive around and still save money. Paula Jones says, "What's up, Paula Jones?" Paula Jones, I think she's from California, right? Paula Perrin Jones, right? I think that's her.
Yeah.
What's good, Paula? What you doing in California? All right, so we got OJ. What's the best credit union to get an auto loan from?
I mean, look, it really depends on the bureau that you got. I mean, most credit unions are going to price competitively because they don't borrow from the Fed, so they're always about 0.75%, about 75 basis points less than you'll see on the lowest rate that a retail bank could charge. So most of them are all going to be comparable in the same area. The key is finding what bureaus as it assimilates to your particular report. So I guess it really depends on what bureau is clean, or if you're just looking from a broad purview, you can probably apply to anyone because they're all going to offer comparable auto rates, right? But
Yes.
when you need to be tactical about it, for instance, if a client needs a car and we get Equifax done, we have ones that just pull Equifax, ones that pull Experian,
Correct.
Union, etc., that allows us to be able to position them that way. But to answer his question, the report's clean. Any credit union is going to provide those stellar rates. It's not specific ones. And for the reason they're able to undercut the retail banks like Bank of America, Wells, etc., is because they're not borrowing from the Fed the way the retail banks are. So there's no margin that their spread that they got to cover with the lending. That's why you see it a little bit cheaper, about 75 basis points. Some cases a whole 100 basis points. You'll see it different. But obviously, in a banking capacity, it doesn't seem like that much, but from a consumer capacity, it's significant, right? It can save you a lot of interest on the loan.
You heard that, OJ? Okay, now we got Colleen. I paid cash money for my used car. I only took out a loan so I could have that. It show that I paid the loan off in full in a few months. How's that idea, Jay? So it could show up on your credit report, but then you pay it off and then pay it off faster, but then your credit score goes down 20 points after.
It's not.
Check this out, Colleen.
I understand people's thought. In
Correct.
theory, you take it out, you pay it a couple months, you pay it off. It looks like you have cash. Looks like you didn't need it. The problem is that as fundamentally sound as that may appear, doesn't correlate to the report. So all you've done now is taken out a big loan and showed a small amount of pay history on that loan, and it's not giving you any age or any leverage as far as the broader report is concerned. And you're right, you report the auto loan, you lose points, and first month's payments get you those points back and then some. So when you close it, then you lose those points that you got back. So it's going to be a little bit of a fluctuating rigmarole as far as the scores are concerned for that period of time. So I would never advise that. If you're not gonna run it out for a period that can actually assist, it doesn't make any sense to even take it out because you're paying points, you're paying fees and stuff, and taking the loan out along with it. That it's just not logical to pay off so quickly because it's not ever going to financially correlate.
But Jay, is this a myth that I've heard, or is this true? When you have on your credit report that you've paid off an installment account, or let's say a vehicle loan, and then when you go to the dealership and they see that you've paid off a vehicle loan, that more than likely you'll get the loan at a better rate if you have high scores. Okay. I see what Colleen means about having it show up on her credit report and then paying it off. Let's say Colleen, in 6 more months, she wants to go and finance a car. Because she has paid off the vehicle loan, when they run her credit, they'll see, oh, you paid off a vehicle loan. You have a car that, since you had stellar payment history and you paid it off. Because the thing that I hear a lot of people is when they never had a car, they go get a car, and then they say, oh, because you don't have a vehicle loan that you've paid off on your credit report, therefore you're gonna have to pay this much. You get me?
Who's saying that? Think about who's saying that. Who's saying that?
That's the dealership.
The salesman, right?
The salesman, yes.
The guy that's trying to build a yield spread into your loan, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Okay.
There's nothing you can walk into a dealership and believe, man. I'm telling you, it's not an opinion, it's a fact. They're all nonsense. If you go in knowing that it's all bullshit, 90% of it's predicated on nonsense, then you know that in a lot of cases it's not true. But in this particular instance, when you're not giving it enough time to actually show the pay history that you're looking to get, it's not going to naturally correlate, right? If you're a 22-year-old kid and you take out a $20,000 auto loan, you pay it off 3 months later, that doesn't mean they're going to want to turn around and give you $30,000 next time, right?
Yes.
That doesn't mean it's giving you as much history as you probably could utilize if you keep it open for even another year. It's all about the age, and really depending upon the depth of the file itself, the other aspects of the file can play into that too, right? And I don't know what the other aspects of her particular file are, but you're asking me a broad question, and the main question is whether I think it's a good idea to do that. I don't think it is,
Okay.
for a multitude of reasons.
So there you go, paying a car cash and taking out a loan so that it could report onto your credit report. You don't have to do that. That's another myth. That's another myth, Jay.
I haven't heard that one.
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot. Okay, so we got Paula Jones who says, gonna be calling you soon again. Paula, we're here for you. You are gonna be a returning customer. So just let us know, hey guys, I'm back again. We'll review your file again. We'll give you a returning customer price, of course. And you start ASAP. We do this. Now we have these podcasts. You probably didn't know. But now we have these podcasts every other week. Now we were doing them every Monday, but now we're doing them every other week. We got Marcus Franco. Can you elaborate on things that you mentioned you do and position people in great positions to buy from all lenders? Now, what do you mean, Marcus Franco? Like for a mortgage, for a car, for credit cards?
Yeah, I need to know.
Yeah, we need to know more because it's like we just went in.
Maybe I can just give a broad answer. So, I mean, what we do as with clients is I understand every aspect of how these particular loans, whether it be an auto loan, personal loan, mortgage, etc., are arrived at. So when we say we position you for that, that means whenever the file's ready, we know when you can go. We don't need to be 100% done the report in order to get you for financing, right? Or get you approved for things. We can be done 1 bureau, or in some cases, if it's an FHA loan, we know right when you're ready to go. So we don't need to 100% done, but you can go scratch that itch getting the house because you so desperately want to get it so badly. As far as particular lenders, we know what lenders pull what bureaus in particular instances. So, for instance, if you needed a loan and one of our, Equifax is done, and we just pump you through one of our Equifax lenders that pull just Equifax bureau. Alternatively, if we, for some reason, TransUnion gets done, we have lenders that just pull TransUnion. This way, we can jump on these opportunities and don't need to wait till all three are done. More importantly, though, we're not wasting inquiries. We're being tactical and efficient with the inquiries we are utilizing. So it's not uncommon for a client of ours to get the 3% rate. For instance, the example he just gave, that Gizzy just gave a guy that refinanced, one of our clients refinanced last Thursday, one inquiry, right? One inquiry.
Correct. In which I'll have a video about him.
You get 35 inquiries, right?
Correct.
And that's in large part because they're trying to yield spread, so on and so forth. They're trying to find the lowest rate lender in order to be able to offset to jack you up. I mean, that would be my first question. Covered what his original question was.
Yeah. No. You let us know. So then we have Tracy Madrid. She says, yes, she's in the military. I think that was the question. And now she says, I'll chill. She says, no, I need a mortgage first, but I already have a car. Tracy,
All good.
chill. Don't get your mortgage. After the mortgage, you go and you park your Benz or your Beamer or whatever. But get your mortgage first. We're gonna really fix your credit. It will be helpful. I know you had some hiccups, but just stay in contact with us through email. Anytime you want an update, John gets back to all my emails. He will let you know what you need to do. You had great results the first round, so good for you. But anyway, we're here for you. Yeah, the laugh out loud. Hoopty car. I haven't heard that in a minute. Yeah, Hoopty. Paula Jones says yes. Tracy says no. I was, but I'm in construction management. Oh, okay. You were in the military. Now you're in construction management. Okay. Oh, and look, Paula Jones moved to LV. Moved to Las Vegas.
LV.
Las Vegas.
Yeah, LV.
LV. That's what I said.
Good, man.
Yeah. Delta Curtis says Delta Community Credit Union in Atlanta. Good rates. And then Fat Boy says most pull Equifax Navy Fed is good.
Navy Fed's very good. Penn Fed's good. Grow's good. Digital's good. A lot of them are good.
Okay, now Curtis says, any thoughts on SoFi? I don't know what SoFi, helping people, cars, and homes with decent rates?
If you back it into the history of those types of lenders like Prosper and Lending Club, you realize that most of the rates are high, and SoFi is high, but I think they do it a little differently. And the branding is a little bit better. They don't want to come across as welchers. They do go up to $100,000 on the personal loans, which none of the other places do if you can sustain it. So I think that's a good thing. The interest rate is, there's always a tick up in risk, but they're willing to take that risk. So I do like SoFi. I like them better than the other two. I think their approach is different. It's broader, and I think they're doing that because they're preparing to go public, and as a result of that, they're trying to figure out ways to draw in the most amount of consumers, because obviously consumers help to jump the valuation when they go public. So whatever they're doing, I like it. I do think they have some good options for consumers, more so than a lot of the other ones. And they're obviously not a formalized bank, so I do like them.
Okay. And then we have our weekly listener, Freddie Anguiano in California, who says, what up, fellas? Hey, John, I hope I didn't upset you today.
Freddie, you couldn't upset me. You couldn't upset me. You couldn't upset me. You're a client, and I appreciate you, Freddie. Sometimes I understand where you're coming from, and I know how badly that you want to get into this house.
Yes. What do you say? What do you say to a customer like this who says, "Just trying to get this house ASAP. I guess the pressure is getting to me." How do we say you're gonna get there? Because at this time, it's all about.
I say that, but you gotta understand something. And look, Freddie's a really good guy. So this is just this comes from a good place. But some people just get so dialed into it. I mean, Freddie started a couple of disputes ago, so this hasn't been like a long languishing situation.
Correct.
We're trying to get him into a house. He's a client of ours. And we're working our balls off to get him there, but he just wants it yesterday, and he wants it so bad he can taste it. So every day it's on the front of his brain, and I get it, and I know it, and I understand it. And trust me, there's nobody that likes to give good news better than me, because we're held to a certain regard as far as the expectation with people that start with us. But unfortunately, in some cases, certain files, and again, we're not even that long involved, but certain files just require a little more elbow grease, and that's what applies to Freddie. And I'm not laughing, but each dispute that we have to do, I know it's just driving him crazy. And look, Freddie, here's what I can tell you. I promise you that we're trying to get this done for you as quick as we can. Correct. And Gizzy's gonna fly out to California and take a picture with you at the house. All right, when you get the house, it's just you need to, and we'll do a testimonial in your living room. But
I'm
we just
gonna,
gotta
I'm
get.
gonna have my mask on over there in California, Jay.
All right, well, get one of those riot. Get one of those riot wear that. Freddie, either way, we're gonna get you there, man. Just try and be patient. You couldn't bother me. You're a client of ours, and I understand where you're coming from. I understand the emotional attachment to the process and how badly you want to get there. We'll get you there, though. Trust me, we'll party too when it's done.
Okay, so I got Kimberly Benz who's calling again. I said we'll call you after 8, and it's already 8:05, and people call. I know you want to start credit repair again, Kimberly, so don't worry about it. We're going to finish soon. I'll give you a call. Hold on. And yeah, right here I have Tracy, who says, I would love to buy a house soon. So, so Tracy, if that is the goal, definitely now we know that that's the goal. And the goal is to position you to do just that. What state are you in right now, Tracy? Did you move to Louisiana? Someplace like that? Let me know. Anyways, Jay, already 2 hours, and I know you're typing away on the other line. We're still getting phone calls. So people are starting credit repair with us again. As you see from the comments, a lot of people who see the videos for the last 10 years and also say, you know, I need help again. These customers, Georgia. Okay, you in Georgia. So homes over there, you know, depends on where you are at, but homes are pretty affordable down there in Florida. I mean, in Georgia. But like I said, Tracy, Paula Jones, that these customers are returning customers. They come back. They see me every day. We haven't gone anywhere. We have the best intentions for you guys, and that's to come through for you guys as soon as possible. Even if we have a customer like Freddie who's on who's on top of us. But Freddie, we're gonna get you there. Okay. Anything else you want to say, Jay?
No, other than just the fact that everybody that follows us and pops in and listens, and we appreciate everybody that follows and listens, and we do take time out to do these, and these are educational scenarios for us, whether somebody decides to utilize as an opportunity to start credit repair. But we do think the educational portion of this is important. Whether we get to 100 people that follow on a regular basis or it's 1 million people, it doesn't really matter, just as long as it affects somebody, and if it can save somebody money ultimately and adjust their approach and perspective on, like Curtis said earlier, just understanding things and being able to utilize that and implement that in your everyday life. I think that's important, and that's why we're going to keep doing them, and we're going to keep covering topics that are obvious for the purposes of hopefully we can help at least one person. But I think we're helping more than that. But if we can at least help one each time, I think that's a victory. So we appreciate everybody that's listening.
There you go. Mi gente, thank you very much. Oh, Tracy says, I'm not going to lie. The wait is worth it. Regardless of how long you have to wait, it is worth it. My husband has taken off with his life with your help. You see that? That's beautiful. So that's what we do for people. Take off with your life. Ain't that right, Jay?
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Great way to wrap up a podcast, too. So
Yeah, definitely. Okay, John, I'll let you type away, and I'll see you, bro. Oh, no podcast next week. No podcast. The following week. No podcast next Monday. But I'm gonna post the testimonial of how we helped this customer from 11 interest. I'm gonna talk about 2 customers. I'm gonna give you guys 2 examples of the customer that we helped a year ago. He had 2 vehicles. He was paying 15% interest on 2 vehicles, and he ended up getting a Charger, I believe, and for like 4 point something percent. Ended up saving $13,900. And of course, I'm going to talk about this customer too, who went from 11% to 9%. And it's all 4%. Credit repair results. 11 to 4. 11 to 4. Alrighty, Jay. Thanks, bro.
Alright, you got it.
Take care. Alrighty, mi gente. Hey, Charles right there. Papa, I sent you a gift of coffee. Thank you, bro. Cafecito. Listen, I had another customer from New Jersey sent me cafecito money. I appreciate you. What was I going to say? Charles is a real estate investor in New Jersey. All right, Elizabeth. They call him Mr. Elizabeth because the guy knows everything about Elizabeth, New Jersey, and he is a landlord, and he's always purchasing property. If you guys need, you guys are in New Jersey, you're selling your home, you're upside down on your mortgage, hit Charles because he'll buy your home. Okay. Alrighty. Thank you so much. What up, Gizzy and John? Good. S House was good, bro. Yankees. There you go. No Yankees. No. I didn't make it. Well, because of the Rona, we didn't get to go to the Yankee Stadium. S House. What can you do, right? Tracy, you got it. No problem. Mi gente. I appreciate you guys logging on. Appreciate the cafecito money too. Thank you so much. Definitely appreciate you guys. We're gonna be back next week. Well, not next week, but the week later with the live podcast. Next week is gonna be the testimonial. So hold on to that. Maybe I'll put out another credit repair results video prior. Let's see if I have time. Anyways, thank you everyone for logging on. And I'm going to leave you guys with your favorite. Let me see who says. CN, you elaborate on your $99 credit repair and credit card funding system. Yeah, sure. With the credit card funding system, you learn how to repair your own credit because it's more for personal use. Other people have purchased it and then they've helped some other people, but it's more for personal use because you also get to be part of the website's online forum if you have any questions for it. But basically, with the $99 do-it-yourself credit repair system, you learn how to dispute by mail. Okay, and it's not for inquiries, and you don't learn how to dispute online. Only with the professional do-it-yourself credit repair system, and that costs $2,000. You learn how to dispute online by mail, and it also comes with the inquiry removal template. Okay, you're still gonna get aggressive results with the $99 system. I mean, that system sells every day. We've sold over probably 4,500 systems for like the last 4 years that it's been out. All right. The $99 do-it-yourself credit card funding system. Basically, you learn where to go to get high limit credit cards, or if you want to go and get a vehicle loan there too, you go and we give you Equifax Experian Transunion lenders, and basically if your Experian credit report is clean, you can go and to a bank that we recommend inside of the system that tells you, listen, this bank runs Experian. This is what they're going to go by. Your Experian credit report is 730, 740 credit score. And then also gives you the equation that you need to understand prior to going in so that you could eventually get a high limit credit card. But it's in detail, and it's what do you call it? It's like dummy proof too. It's like it's an easy read. It's only about 32 pages. You could probably read it in like coffee time or tea time before you go to bed for about an hour and a half, and you could run through it and get education. And the reason why we came out with the $99 do-it-yourself credit card funding system is because a lot of people are charging 15%, 20%, even 25% in order for them to get you like a $15,000, $10,000 credit card. With the $99 system, you're paying $99 and you get to learn and no back end fee. All right. So if you want info on that, definitely let you know on that. OJ is in Cali, baby. Shout out to you in Cali. Listen, California is not an easy place to live. You guys are getting blackouts. Okay, you guys, no water running. If they catch you in a party, they're gonna shut off your water. Cali is out of this world. Okay. Anyways, Charles, if you need more info, you already know. We Facebook friends for a long time. So you let me know. Anyways, mi gente, our last video was right over here, and we came through for this customer. Helped them get a home, and also helped them with the refinance from 4-point-something% to a 3% interest rate. So that's what's up. Anyways, Thank you very much, everyone who's still here. This is the thumbnail. And bendiciones to all. And we leave off with our famous, whatchamacallit? Thanks, broski. You got it, bro. Our famous video. Oh, no. Musiquita. Everybody's waiting for the musiquita.
Don't get scammed. What you need is just a change of plans.